from the Psalms. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi yagor ba'ahalecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha, Olech tamim ufoel tzedek v'dover emes b'levavo, lo ragala l'shono, lo asa l're'ehu ra'a v'chirpo lo nasa al krovo, nivzeh be'enav nim'as v'esirei Adonai yichabed, nishba lehora v'lo yamir, kaspo lo nasan b'neshech, v'shochad al naki lo lakach, osei ela lo yimot liolam. The Psalm of David, who shall dwell in thy holy tent? Who shall ascend thy holy mountain? He that walks simply and does righteousness and speaks truth in his heart. He who has not a bad word to say about his fellow, one in whose eyes God is revered, one who gives generously of self and of substance. He who lives in such a way shall live forever. We'd like to call upon Marty and Janet to please remove the covering from the stone. The stone reads, Shmuel ben Reb Meir Leib, beloved husband, father, brother, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Dr. Sheldon Lee Alpert died August 17, 2018, forever in our hearts. Our tradition tells us that there's an obligation to mark the location of a grave. And we do that by establishing a matzeva, some kind of monument, sometimes a headstone, sometimes a footstone, sometimes a family stone. And that monument serves a particular purpose. As we look back in the passages from Chumash, from the Torah, back in the very beginning, the first book of the Torah, that of Bereshis, we find that often our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, encountered God. And in the places where they encountered God, they erected a monument. That monument to remind them that that place was a holy place, that it was different from every other place around it. So too our tradition is to erect a monument at a cemetery to remind us that this resting place, this final resting place for the physical remains of Dr. Sheldon Alpert, is a holy place. It's a place unique, unlike every other place around it. It's a place that has particular meaning for his family and for his friends. Now, I'm not exactly sure if Marty and Janet are going to speak, or just Janet is going to speak. But I know that there's some negotiation going on. And I believe that with Janet's skill, a settlement will soon be reached. And we'll hear from, hopefully, both of them, but if not, certainly from one of them. We'd like to note that unfortunately, Miles could not be here today because of his professional responsibility, and Renee also could not be here today. We want to wish her a speedy recovery from her recent surgery. But we know that California is watching on FaceTime, so we acknowledge their presence here as well. Marty.
Well, my father was a very laid-back individual, and that whenever we would ask him questions, because he was a scholar, my mother and father were very academic students in school, college, whatever their endeavors. So whenever I went up to my dad and said, "Can you please give me an answer for calculus or for physics?" his main preface was, "Look it up, look it up." So for my whole life, you're looking up. Then there was a time where I wanted to use a car. And many years ago, after you were 16, you got your license, but you couldn't drive at night until you were 18 where you had the driver's ed course. So he told me, "You'll have the car on Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for an hour." So I said, "Dad, that's only an hour. How am I going to get around? What transportation?" He looked at my feet, and he says, your feet are your limousines. And then 6 months later, Converse sneakers came out. This is in the late, about 67. Converse sneakers came out with advertising that they are limousines for your feet. So I told my dad that you are ahead of your time. And the last time I always think is when we were out at Aunt Bobby's house. I must have been 14, and I had played with his radio to play WABC 77 for the top 40. So we're heading home from Aunt Bobby's house, and there's traffic extraordinaire. So my father turns the radio on, think he's going to get CBS radio, and he gets to rock and roll. He says, "What is this music? It's for the birds. I'm not a bird." So that's my recollections of some of the funny things my father would say when he didn't really mean to be funny. Let me let Jack.
My mother, unfortunately, couldn't be here, and as you all know, she's asked me to share some thoughts with you on this important day. Shelley was the love of my life, and the way he practiced dentistry spoke volumes of who he was as a person and all that I loved about him. When in practice as a dentist, he quietly set aside the bill his patients were unable to pay and never pursued payment. He never let the lack of payment interfere with treatment, especially for those who are in dire need of dentistry. Though I very much love my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, his passing has left a hole that cannot be filled. Sheldon was an avid reader, spending much of his free time reading history, war stories, and other historical fiction books of World War II. Above all, Sheldon loved his family, and we loved him. He was and still is the love of my life, and will never be forgotten. As I reflect on this past year of mourning, I cannot help but think that the one important thing that my beloved father left behind was a close-knit family. Since his departure, we have all pulled together to make our mother happy, to provide her with a place to live, be it Florida or California. Visited her and provided her with our company to fill the void that she was left with when a lifetime companion, whom she spent 68 years of her life with, passed on. Since my father's passing too, it is important to note that our larger family has experienced further tragedy with the loss of some vital members that I feel compelled to mention at this time, namely Uncle Cy, my sister-in-law Gil, Marty's wife, and my sister Renee's mother-in-law Edith. Hopefully these very important, memorable, and very special people, all together, in heaven watching over us and continuing to send their love and best wishes of joy to all of us, especially to my mother, who is still grieving. Dad loved all his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and was very proud of them. In this past year, some amazing events have happened that sadly we were not able to share with my father. Lizzie graduated from dental school, and for anyone who knew my father, they knew he would have been so very proud that his granddaughter was following in his footsteps and a career that he truly loved. also our families excited with the renewal of life that we hope to celebrate in February with the birth of another great-grandson. Additionally, his granddaughter Eva, Marty's daughter, graduated Florida State University and is currently taking prerequisite courses with the intention of beginning a postgraduate nursing program. My cousin Robert, who my father affectionately referred to as Trebor, Robert backwards, to keep him calm in the dental chair, reflected upon my father, has recalled that his Uncle Shelley always played double or nothing with him when he was a kid, where he won all the change in my father's pocket. And true to form, not only did he fill his pocket in advance of the challenge, Uncle Shelley never let him lose. In hindsight, my cousin recollected that he not only won a pocket of change, but he won a great uncle and friend, someone who was never too busy to talk to him with sincere interest and love. My cousin Kenny noted that my father was content with very few material things, a trait to be admired, and that he was happy to have a good book. Along those same thoughts, my sister Renee recalled that Dad's favorite outing was to the used bookstore. He could spend quite a bit of time perusing through the $1 books. Most of the trips outside the home he refused to go, but it didn't take much convincing to get him to get up and out to the bookstore. My cousin Joel remembered my father with fondness, slicing turkey together on Thanksgiving, bantering playfully with my mother at holiday parties, spending the day at my father's dental office as a small child. All of Joel's memories have one word in common theme as he describes my father: kind and loving. And my cousin Linda reminded me that her children, Emily and PJ, looked at my parents as being grandma and grandpa. Whenever they went away on trips, he and Shelley were there to take them and babysit and do whatever was necessary to keep them safe. Certainly this is an incredibly sad day today, to return to the place where we buried my father 1 year ago. We can all take solace in the fact that he's surrounded by love, just as he was in life, with the presence of the Alpert and Ostrager families, who adored and appreciated him for all that he was. Marty, Miles, Renee, and I are all at the point in our lives when we can look back upon our father, how he raised us, and all that he invested in us, and recognize that he gave us the ability to live on without him. But despite the fact that he's not physically with us, his spirit is embodied in all that we are. May his memory be for a blessing, and may he live on in all of us with loving kindness.
Marty and Janet, thank you for those special words. Words that reflect the love and the memories that you have of your dad. And the special bond that, despite the fact that Dad is no longer physically here, I'm sure remains very much a part of your lives. It's at this time of the year that we all reflect on the fragility of life. As we approach the Yamim Noraim, the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, where we stand before God and we say, Mi Yichye, Mi Yamus, who will live and who will die. We reflect on the fact that we need to make the most out of every moment that God blesses us with. For none of us ever know when that final call will come. Our tradition tells us that on Rosh Hashanah, when God judges us, he opens up 3 books. The book of the righteous, in which those who are righteous are immediately inscribed and sealed. The book of those who are not so righteous, and they are inscribed and sealed in that book as well. And then the book of those who are in between. That's the book that I get into. You're probably in the righteous book, but the book of in between. It's for us a reminder that we still have work to do on ourselves. This imagery of a book is so similar to the life of each and every one of us. For our lives are books that we write. There's an introduction which is usually written by our parents that predates our own ability to write that book. And then chapters in the book that speak of our growth, our development, our accomplishments. And then there is the epilogue, usually written by our family after we're no longer able to write. It's no coincidence that Dr. Albert's Matseva is in the form of a book. And in fact, if you look at all of the Matsevos here in this family plot, you will see that they are in the form of a book. Not only because he liked books so much, which he did, but because he understood and your family understands the books that each of us are writing. And so when those moments of sadness arrive, when it's hard to realize that Dad is no longer here, or when those moments of difficulty and challenge come up that you would normally reach out to him for his advice and guidance. So I'd like to encourage you to take that book off the shelf in your mind, the book that he wrote, with all of its many chapters and all of its many lessons. Lessons, as you mentioned, of kindness and of generosity, which are chapters in and of themselves. Chapters of a doctor who had to support a family of 4 growing children, and yet at the same time, despite working long hours to make ends meet, would often forego payment from those who are unable to pay. It was a kindness and a generosity of spirit that he learned from his father as well. Back in the days when doctors used to make house calls, and he would go with his father. Imagine the kindness that one needed to show to pick oneself up in the middle of the night and to go to a house and there to tend to the sick. That was what he learned and incorporated into his own life. A sense of the importance of education for himself and for his children that he learned from his parents. It's true that his father convinced him not to go into medicine because dentistry would be an easier life. I'm not sure it's an easier life, but when we look at Janet's smile, we know that the dentistry was a perfect career for him and for his family. These memories that you have of him, these are the chapters of the book that he wrote. And your family, your children, and one day their children, those families will write the epilogue of the book that is your father's book, of the lessons that he left behind. And that book will be available to you and to your families for generations yet to come. Tehei nishmaso tzura b'tzur ha'chayim. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. And may he now read all of the books he wants without having to even spend that $1 in the virtual bookstore in Shamayim. May his memory be for a blessing. And we all say, Amen. I'm going to ask you now to say the mourner's Kaddish.
Shelley would go and Shelley would give him the money to buy food for the poor people. Because Dad was, my father was very good natured too. He'd go to the
Two of you will say the Kaddish, and we will all listen and answer as appropriate.
So Shelley would go out and buy for
Amen.
Israel, Shagamas, Yisbarach, Yisbarach, Yisbarach,
We want to make sure it's retained, that I retain it.
Taping, they're going to put it on YouTube. You'll be able to access it. Yeah, but then I don't know if she'll be able to hear it as well. I was thinking of that.
I took pictures of the babies, so
Zohar Harakia Masirim Es Nishmas Shmuel Ben Reb Meir Leib Shahalach Leolamo Ba'avur Shekulanu Mispalulim B'yad Askaras Nishmasal Began Eden Tehimenu Chaso Lachein Balarachamim Yasirehu B'Seitzer Kinachav Leolamim V'yitzor b'tzor ha'chayim es nishmaso Adonai hu nachalaso V'yanuach b'shalom ha'mishkavo V'nomar Amen. O God, full of compassion, who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your presence, among the holy and the pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament. And to the soul of Shmuel, the son of Meir Leib, Dr. Sheldon Lee Alpert, who has gone to his eternal rest. Open unto him, O God, your gates of light and righteousness, and shelter him forevermore under the protective cover of your presence. May his rest be in peace. And we all say, Amen. Amen. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, V'naos deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchos yinahaleni. Nafshi yishoved yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit salmoves lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulcha neged sorurai. Yishanta v'shemen roshi kosi rivaya. Ach tova v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veis Adonai v'orech yamim. Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Bilo hamavis lanetzach, u'mocho Hashem Elokim dimami al kol panim, v'cherpasamo yasir me'al kol haaretz ki Hashem diber. Although we gather in sadness today, we hope that good memories and a strong legacy will bring this family and all of you, their friends, comfort and consolation. And that we will leave this gravesite today rededicated to being a better friend to each other, to being kinder and gentler to each other, to being there when we are called upon, and to making the world a better place. Because that is certainly what Sheldon Alpert would want from each one of us. It's our tradition that when leaving a graveside, we take a small stone or pebble. It does appear that the family tradition is boulders. But you can take a small stone or pebble and place it on the grave. We do this as a sign for others that this is someone who is remembered, someone who is very much loved, and someone whose resting place is still very much alive in our hearts.
Michelle, move to the right a bit.